Yeah, Maya, to our meeting this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Ophelia Mayal. You could call me Ophelia or Ophi. That's good. Because I'm not really into the formalities when you're dealing with, a social group. So, I came here this evening and I'm wondering what, in terms of your background, everybody here is employed, everybody is where they want to be here. Are you in a job that you're feeling dissatisfied, or are you hoping for something more? What is it that you are thinking in terms of a career path, or even in just life in general? Because sometimes we have a job, but then we are still unhappy. We have a family, but then we are still unhappy. Because a job alone doesn't make you happy. It takes everything coming together, and it takes a mindset to be content with what you have and to move forward from that. What Keisha missed out is that I'm a registered nurse by profession, and that is okay because, as she said before, we haven't met for long. But I'm a registered nurse by profession, and it shows you. Okay. The rain is coming from out there, but the thing we're inside. It's good. This one is partial. So, as I was saying, we have all our needs, and if one is not, if we feel to ourselves that one is not met, whether it's a spiritual need or a physical, it could be in terms of your food, bills, shelter. Any one of those needs not met, it throws us off and it can make us basically unfulfilled and discontent. But that's if you don't have the mindset to make yourself content with what you have. And to be flexible, because one of the things I've learned is that life is not like, okay, it doesn't depend on your current situation. So whatever it is that is happening around you at this point, is that life has a way of, it's like you sometimes you go wrong, but you're always changing directions, moving from point to point, and sometimes you are there fighting against it instead of really being content and going with the flow while doing things to make yourself better. So I am going to refer back to my situation now, because I started off at the age of it was two weeks before my 23rd birthday when I went into school of nursing. Before that, I had a problem. I couldn't get a job. I mean, I was out of school at 17 plus. I got pregnant at 18, and I had my son at 19. So at 19 years old, I became a single parent. And but one thing I always knew is that I wanted something better for myself. I was growing up in poverty, but it didn't mean that I had to think like if I am in poverty. I always had dreams. I always had goals. So after I had my son, I started thinking, no, this cannot be it. I don't want to end up like my mom, who has all of these children, 11, and she is not able to provide for them. So my son at first was my, okay, I want some. She wasn't in the pictures yet, so I want something for him. 19 years old, have a son, and I started applying everywhere for looking for a job. And till 2 weeks before my 23rd birthday, from the age of 19, it took years. So nursing, it offered an opportunity for me, but before I went into nursing, I had to make other decisions. Because imagine me at, say, 19, without the guidance of a mother, or not knowing my father. I mean, seeing him about twice, 3 times between that period of time, because he was living in England. And so you could imagine me at that age, it's just problems. But before I went into the nursing program, I I was conscious enough to make a decision. Okay, I wanted to know my HIV status. It wasn't that I was running around and all of that, but I felt that okay, if I'm going into nursing, at least I must know if I have AIDS or not, because I don't want to be applying for that and next thing I'm finding out. So even at that age, I had these the ability to make these decisions. So I went and I did my HIV AIDS test, and I mean I was scared. It's not that but I was scared at that age, and so I could remember I was telling one friend, a male friend of mine, I went for my HIV test, and he was like, "No, you don't have HIV/AIDS, because if you had HIV/AIDS, then you will have a lump behind your ears." He was telling me that because he was telling me that normally if you have HIV/AIDS, you have this lump behind your ears, and I mean, if you want comfort, whatever people tell you, it's comforting to the ear. So I was very comforted by the fact that I didn't, and I actually felt to make sure that I didn't have the lump behind my ears. Anyway, so I went into the nursing profession. I got through. It was negative. I went into the nursing profession, and that wasn't without its challenges. Because there are a couple of my colleagues got thrown out or demoted. Some of them did not pass subjects, and they were thrown out. And I could remember myself saying, "I'm going to leave. I'm going to quit." Because when you're looking at other people and you see how they're experiencing things, it has a way. If it's negative, then it will demotivate you. Mm-hmm. And so I was scared and thinking, well, it's gonna be me next. So before it was me, I was saying, okay, I'm going to quit. But then when I think about, I said, Ophelia, who are you kidding? I was living in this bedroom house all by myself. I didn't have a parent to go home to say, okay, you could take this, take that. And at least they were offering you a monthly stipend for nursing. And that is what I was surviving on. So regardless of what was happening around me, I said, Ophelia, you have no choice. You have to go on. And in that period of time, I tried my best. There were times when I wasn't focused. So I failed a couple of my courses, failed physical assessment. I was an anxious wreck for that physical assessment. I didn't have enough practice, and I just messed it up. So I failed it, but I did it over and I passed. And then I dreamed I failed a subject, and I actually dreamed it before I failed it and ended up failing the subject. Because it's like I was not focused. So anyway, for the 3 years, and I graduated with everybody. I was able to receive the subjects that I failed, and I graduated with everybody. So welcome to nursing. I stayed in nursing in St. Vincent for about 5 years. That's from 2004 when I graduated, and till 2010 I went to Cayman. And while in Cayman, I started my studies with a master's degree, and left there in 2014, came home to do my internship. And that is where the chaos started in my life, because before I left, it was my decision really, but the supervisor, they were telling me, okay, I can do my internship in Cayman. But I was experiencing other problems because I was a single parent now with my daughter. My son was in St. Vincent because he's big now. And I had other problems. I was working full-time, studying full-time. I had her full-time, and it was just both of us over there. So I just really wanted to come home and just do my internship, get some time off. But they weren't in agreement with that, in giving me the time off that I needed. So it was a tough decision to make, and sometimes you have those decisions in your life to make. You when they're happening, but you follow your instinct. And you pray about it, because one of the things I did before I decided that is that I prayed about it. I said, this is my situation, Lord, and I know in my heart I want to go home, but then I didn't make a rash decision. I gave them a year. I did it. I had a year in advance to really decide, and then I said, okay, I need to go home. When I made that decision, they gave me 6 months with non-renewal. So it's basically, okay, I don't want to stay to do my internship there, so you have to go. That was basically, they didn't give me an explanation, but I know that is the reason why. So I came home. I was happy. I was expectant. I had money in the bank, and everything was going fine. And so when everything is going fine, in our lives, then we could, I mean, we can conquer the world. But when things are going bad, that is when it really tests your faith and your strength. So coming home now, and then everything was going Hawaii. My studies didn't, my internship, I had problems getting into school of nursing, but eventually that was sorted out. I finished, and okay, I said, okay, I finished. I have arrived. Even the news flash is that you don't ever arrive,
Don't
because
ever.
when you're thinking in your mind that things are going to happen the way you want them to, it doesn't always. It doesn't always happen. So because guess what? You don't have control over the external environment that you're living in. You don't have any control over that. What you have control over is how you respond to those. And I always say one thing: those stumbling blocks, I always believe that God put them there because He wants me to change direction. That's how I think of them. That's how I view them. So when I said, if God did not want me to move from Cayman, He would have found a way to let them keep me there. But there was a reason for me coming back home. If God did not, if He wanted me to get a job at the School of Nursing, He would have entered the interviewees' minds and they would have given me the job. But all of these stumbling blocks, any stumbling block you have in your life, you have to always remember when you had the last stumbling block, what happened. Refer back to the last stumbling block that you had, how you overcame it, and see that whatever was behind that was even better than what you were forcing and fighting against. It always comes better. That's how I see it. But sometimes what happens is that, okay, when everything is going good in our lives, we don't really focus on the things that matter, that really matter. We focus more on the material things that are around us, and we forget our spiritual life. And that is something, even though I was in Cayman and I was praying, honestly speaking, I don't think my spiritual life was where it wanted to be. I got baptized in 2008 when she was 6 months old. But even with that, I wasn't really paying much attention to the spiritual aspect of my life. But when I got back home and things started happening where I was living in rent, I wasn't earning an income, I was depending on whatever savings I had, and I was stressed out because I couldn't get a job. Then I had to go back and start to attend to my spiritual life, because I realized that no matter how I fight it, I needed a way to cope with what was happening to me. And last year alone, I moved 3 times. 3 times. When I came in, I stayed a couple of days in one place, but it wasn't what I wanted. Then I moved to one. I stayed there for a year and some, but I was paying $700 in that. And I mean, when you not working, you have savings. It's going, and you're not having any income coming in, it's going to dwindle. So now you have to start thinking along the lines of how you're going to save. So I said, okay, let me move. But moving now, desperate to move, I moved into somewhere that even though I was paying less, it wasn't safe because the place was falling apart while I was inside of it. So from there now, I stayed there for a couple of months, and then I had to move again. And when I moved into this next apartment, this one had more issues. So I stayed a month. And then from there now, I moved again, and thankfully I'm where I moved to. And all of these roundabout towns, if I hadn't moved to where I'm staying there now, I would not have gotten the inspiration to do what I'm doing today. So I moved from the last apartment and entered into this more, comfortable environment. And it was December last year. And I said to myself, Ophelia, I wrote a poem because I started doing blogs in 2016 just as a way of venting my feelings, not in anger, but in sharing what I had inside with people to help me heal and to help others who are going through problems. Because if you go on Facebook, you will see it. People go through a lot of crap, and most times they vent it out on the wall. But people are going through stuff. Some people don't say anything, but when you see others going, and you say to myself, well, they are going through it, but that's how they cope with it. But my way of coping was not to go and tell the world all of my problems in the form of cursing, but in sharing it in a way that I am sharing something negative that happened to me, but I'm putting a positive spin on it. So I started saying, Ophelia, what is it that you want to hear from people? That is what you should tell them. So if you want to hear positive things, you have to find a way to to be positive, to tell people positive things. So I started relating my stories to them, but I wasn't focusing on the negative. It always had a positive spin. So no matter whatever you're going through, I said to you, look at the positive side. What is the lesson you could learn from it? Don't just look at, okay, this is happening to me, I lost my job, oh, I'm not getting enough money. What is the positive? While you're thinking there that you're not having enough money, I'm not getting an income. See how funny it is? And you, instead of saying, okay, well, okay, I have a job, it's not paying me enough, I can do something about it, but I won't complain about what I have. So there I was. So I started praying now, and I did the poem. I'm talking to God. I took out all of the. I used to listen to like different music, but I changed my environment. I had to change my outer environment. So I started listening to I love my gospel, like Hillsong and the kind. I love my active gospel that you could really move and exalt your energy. And my favorite online pastor, Bishop Noel Jones. So what I did is that every day while I'm doing stuff, and even in the night, sometimes I'm sleeping with the headphone on my ears with all of this in my ear. I'm trying to change because whatever you listen to, if it's negative people, if it is negative vibe, it's going to infiltrate your mind. So I changed my outer environment now, and I started. She will testify. My daughter will testify and tell you. I mean, I started listening all of these positive things. I took out no soca, none of that. It's just positive vibes. Because I was a wreck inside, right? I was a wreck. I was anxious. I'm thinking, okay, Ophelia, couple months, a year from now, what is going to happen if you don't have a job? You're going to be out on the street, living on the street because you would not have enough money to parent. So that is how I calm myself down, by looking at my spiritual side and trying to find ways, the comfort in the words of God. And just, there's one song I like, I will be still, know you are God, and Cornerstone, those Hillsong songs, and I will listen them over and over and just try to comfort myself because I was very anxious. So when I moved to this new apartment now, I left the negative energy behind because I was already focusing on all these positive things. So when I moved out there, all of that negative vibes, I left it behind and I took positive energy into that place. It was Christmas time and I love Christmas. So I had a good Christmas, and then for New Year's, I wrote this poem because I wanted to write a poem to inspire everybody. And in the poem, I'm telling you that the New Year is like a corner. When you get to it, you're expectant going around the corner, but you don't quite know what you're going to meet. Because the old year now is like, okay, the old year is like going around the corner. You're going around the corner, you're meeting New Year. You're expecting something new, but then when you get there, all of that excitement, you know the excitement that we feel on all years? And we say, okay, this is a new year, everything is going to change. And then by December the next year, I realize, well, nothing never changed. That's because you have to be the one to change it. And that is what I said to myself. I said, Ophelia, but you're writing this poem and telling everybody that they're going to have to do something better. But since 2014, October, I came down here and I've been switching all over the place, so I need to do better too. And with that thought in mind now, and with her as inspiration, because I told her about this book that I had, and she said, Mom, write the book. But this experience that she said, Mom, write. I said, honey, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. Because I don't rush things. I take my time with decisions. Because when I make a decision, I normally, I want to examine I just want to have all the details. So when I reflected on the poem and realized it was speaking to me, I said to myself, Ophelia, what can you do different this year? So that is where the inspiration to do the videos came in, because I was just doing blogs. Then I started doing the videos. Hello. I was
Do
doing
it on camera.
I was she'll be on the camera. Don't put on. I'll plug out the faces. Anyway, I started doing the videos now, and because I said to myself, what are the skills that you would like to have? What are the skills that you would like to improve? Because yes, I am a trained professional nurse, but here is my situation that I don't have a job. What am I going to do? Sit down and say, okay, but I have a master's, I have that, and I ain't get a job, and I'm sit down like that? No, no, you can't have that attitude. So I said to myself, okay, what are the skills that I can develop that can help me go further? So I said, okay, my communication skills, and not only that, my anxieties that I have when I'm speaking to people in a crowd. So I sat down and I said, okay, let me do the videos. So I started doing the videos. You should have seen me. Nervous wreck behind the tablet, even in the comfort of my home. I was nervous because I was going out of my comfort zone. And then I started doing these videos. The first or second video that I did, I paid Facebook $2, and $2, I think it was $2. But that video reached like 6,000 and some people. Even without the $2, even after the $2, it kept reaching people because I was in that video. I had, do not let painful experiences harden your heart, because I was speaking about my own situation, being in a job where I was experiencing discrimination, and not only that, but colleagues who can make your life miserable. So I was telling others that even if you're in a situation where you're experiencing difficulties, it shouldn't make the way you respond to people be negative. So while even if people are being cruel to you, that doesn't mean that you have to be cruel to others because they're innocent. So I was in a situation where I felt unwelcome in the workplace, but that didn't make patients feel unwelcome. So I basically reached out to them. So that is what I was preaching in the video. And then I started doing these videos. I was doing like sometimes 3 or 4 a week. Every morning I got up, I was so inspired to do these videos. Then I'm doing the videos, and then my communication skills was improving, and people were responding to me, messaging me. There are a couple of people that have helped in terms of counseling because they needed it, and I'm not a counselor, but nurses do counsel and stuff like that. But I realized that, okay, what I was doing made sense to other people. It was not just about me venting, but at the same time making other people know that they're not alone in their situations. And it's the same way with you. Whatever you're going through, don't focus too much on yourself. If you focus on yourself alone, and you focus on what is happening to you alone, then you will always be miserable. You have to still find a way to say, okay, how can I challenge, okay, something to distract you. You're going to have to find something to distract you. Not because you're experiencing a difficult situation, meaning you must focus on it all the time. I found ways to distract myself. I did those videos, I wrote my blogs, and then I started thinking I need to write a book. So the book came in terms of, okay, the same book that I told my daughter about with the chicken, and it was ill and it needed help, and some children helped the chicken and it got better. So that's the essence of that story. But I didn't just write the story because, okay, I wanted to make money. There's a message in the story. It's like kindness, compassion, and acts of kindness that you do to people, that it comes back to you. Because the chicken now, it belonged to someone else. But by the time the children finished taking care of it and got it back to good health, they were given it as a gift. So it's like, even if you're going through difficulties, even though you are, whatever it is, you always find a way to reach out and help others, even when you are going through difficulties. Because in helping others, you are making yourself heal, you're making yourself feel better. It's like me, when I was on the job and I was miserable, patients come in, instead of being grumpy, I said to them, I say, hi, how are you doing? And I inquired about that. I have conversations with my patient while I'm doing a dressing. I talk to them about whatever, and some of them they will confide, So and you're saying to yourself, but I think I have all the worries in the world, but there's somebody else who has more worries than you. And if you think about it, if you realize focus. Sometimes when I look and I see what people are experiencing, I say to myself that I'm still lucky. And even while I wasn't get earning an income, because I've just started earning a little thing on the books, I was like, some people didn't have, there were people actually, sometimes they would message me, can you lend me this stuff? I'm like, I'm not working, but they're asking me because they're worse off. And you say to yourself, okay, well, it's not that bad. But with all of that now, you still have to have the faith. That's the most important thing. Because in everything that I was doing, I was having the faith. And it wasn't just that, okay, asking God. Most of the time when I pray to God, I don't really ask him if he could give me that or that. I don't really ask for a specific thing, you know. It's not a habit of mine. When I pray to him, one of the things I've learned to do for us is to thank him for us. I thank him. Even if I cannot pray and say, okay, whatever I know, when I wake up in the morning, thank you, God, for life. Thank you for everything that I have. So I express the gratitude first. And only when it feels like, okay, Ophelia, you can't bear it no more, I say, Lord, please take this away. You understand? But I start with a thank you. It's always with a thank you. And if I feel like, okay, I can't pray, at least he knows what is going on in my heart, because my heart is where it's supposed to be. And it goes back to our lives. It's like most times when things are not going our way, we don't focus much on God and what he says, but we focus more on what the problem. So we have to learn to take the limit of God, because he's God. And sometimes we fail to realize what he's capable of, you know. In all that we're going through, we fail to realize that it's like, okay, we want something and we want it now. So we are kind of like trading off with him. You know, we want it now, but one thing Bishop Noel Jones says is that God's timing, he doesn't go in hours and like that. His time is not like our time. So if we're saying, okay, we're waiting 3 years, God is like, that's still a minute or so for God. It's not like 3 years for him. So we have to realize that his timing is not like ours, whatever we're going through. And so Keisha was talking about faith and expectations. You have to have the faith. Even when everybody is telling you, okay, whatever, because you might have a career goal that you're thinking of, but are you gonna sit there and think all the time about it? Are you going to make a move? Anybody here has something that they like to do, but been thinking about it for years and have never done it? Or okay, you wanna make a move.
Yes.
You want to veer off into something, and you've just been thinking about it because you're saying to yourself, you don't see how it's going to happen. You don't need to know how it's going to happen. It's going to fall into place. It's going to fall. When I started with the book, I didn't even know how it was going to happen. I was just, okay, I'm going to write the book. And when I can remember the morning when I received the first copy, with what I did, what you have to do is make sure that you put your all into whatever you are going to do. Give it your 199%. Don't go halfway. And don't lose yourself in it. Don't just obsess over, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is all. You pray about it, you make sure that you talk to God about it, you pray about it, and you say, okay, and you make sure you have the basics. Because you have to do a little research. Because even with the book, I had to do a little research. And you do it with whatever you have. You do your best with whatever you have at the time that you have it. So you don't go trying to put yourself in more depths. You try to utilize whatever basic things you have. And what can I do? Because guess what? You're not going to have a big bang with anything. It's a step-by-step process. So I started with my blogs. I started with the frustration first. I didn't do the realization that I wasn't going to get a job with a master's degree. I started with that first. And that was a slap in my face because, and guess what? You know, even from a child grow up, I always thought that, okay, once you have these qualifications that, oh, you're entitled to a job. That's not the truth. It's not the truth. It doesn't matter what you have because you don't run the show out there. It's not the truth. So I had to wake up and realize, Ophelia, this is not working. So you can't sit here and say, okay, you're waiting on God, and you're waiting on what God give you the wisdom to do what you need to do. So you have to go and find. Just keep knocking. Perseverance, you spoke about it just now. Keep knocking. Keep exploring. Be curious. Become curious. Read. And don't read because, okay, all right. So I'm going to read this because I want to know something specific. When I have loved reading all my life, and I never, when I have an exam tomorrow, I still reading something different. I was like that is like contrary. I have an exam tomorrow, but I'm reading a Mills and Booth or something else. That was my attitude because I wasn't reading because of a specific objective. I was just reading because of my thirst for something, just to know things and to experience things. So even with whatever you're doing, just explore, be curious, and always act. And as Martin Luther King say, whatever you do, don't stop moving. Even if it's just crawling, don't stop moving. If whatever it is that you're setting out to do, don't stop moving. Keep, even if it's you rest, but don't give up. So if it's not a relationship, because sometimes it might be a relationship and you might have to give up, but you will know when to give up because God give us what we call intuition. And sometimes that speaks to us and it says, okay, well, it's time to move on. You should, focus on it, but don't just throw down your hand and say, I'm not. At least try. And after you would have tried and it didn't work, then you can change direction. Because I've changed a lot of directions. I changed the direction from a registered nurse. And then I practiced for, I did a month of travel agent. When I came home and I couldn't get anything to do, I tried travel agent. And they give you this package that makes it look so attractive. And I told, and it's like, okay, try this. You pay $79 US a month, and you get clients, and they make it sound so easy. And when I tried it for 1 month, it didn't really pan out. But guess what? I think that was God's work too, because I was going for my graduation, and it actually helped me save a couple of hundred, but $300 in hotel. So I take that as another intervention by God. I said, well, okay, it saved me money because I needed money for hotel. And I actually found a hotel on there that was cheaper on the travel agent thing as me as a travel agent. And it was on Expedia. So I saved my money. But when I came back now and I realized, I said, no, I can't take $79 US paid every month on this. And I'm not getting a return. So I changed direction. I went into affiliate marketing. I bought this package. I don't want to tell you how much I bought the package for. Because at the time I still had money and I was willing to invest because I was desperate. I'm desperate now and I'm knocking, I'm persevering. So I tried something else for 2 months. It involved website building and everything. And I wouldn't say it didn't work or not, but it didn't give me any money. I got some education from it. And then the day before it was ready to expire, because they said they'll give me back my money if it doesn't work, and they'll give me $100 extra. So I wrote them and I said, okay, well, it did not work because I didn't earn any money. And when they said, okay, they'll give me back my money, I reminded them of the $100 extra that they promised me. So I got back the $100 and I got back my money. And then that's when I started my own blog. I started off just blogging. There was no money in the blogging. I still don't really get that money in the blogging, but I started off just creating my website, hosting it, and trying. When I did the website for the first time, you should have seen the website, how it ugly. You should have. I went down by the hospital and I made brag to everybody how I have this website. Then one man down there, he went actually to look for the website, and then he sent me an email and he told me how he basically made me feel crushed when he was done with how the website looked. But I know the website wasn't perfect, but that was something that I created for myself. And I mean, I had a sense of pride in this even. So good. But when he started and he sent this email to me and told me how the website looked horrible, it was like if I was having a heart attack. I really felt bad. I felt bad, but I didn't respond to him. You see, criticism, it could push you, but it could also be a distraction. So I didn't respond to him because that would have made me even more distracted. Instead of that, man, I went out of my way and I started learning about the basic things for website building because I had something to prove now. I had to prove to this man that that I can do it. And all of these things push you, Don't pay no mind to people when they're criticizing you or even negative circumstances. They help to push you in the direction that you actually need to go. But sometimes when you're experiencing it, you don't see that. You're just so, okay, it's like, I'm a victim, the world is against me. And I mean, you could really feel like a victim, And you will say, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. But this is happening to you because you're comfortable and you need to get out of your comfort zone. And start accomplishing things. Because if we all were comfortable, if we had everything that we need, we would not achieve things.
True.
Because everything is right there. I wouldn't even move. If I had everything that I needed, I would have just gone on vacation every Monday morning, and that's it. I would not, to look to become better at anything. And so these stumbling blocks, everything, they're just pushing you forward. So whatever it is that you experiencing, don't see it as, just see it as a test of your faith and and your belief. And I always say to myself, I say, if God did that for somebody else, He can do it for me. He can do it for me. So you have to have that belief that take the limit off God. Take it off Him. Don't limit yourself. Dream big, and it's not just about material things, because even though I would like to be successful in everything, one thing I don't plan to do is make it affect my integrity and what I stand for. So you have to make sure that you live by the books still, even while you do. You have your standards, you set them, and you're not willing to give up your standards just because of money or anything, nothing. You're believing that you're walking down the narrow path, and you're not going to, because if you let go of your standards for something, you're going to regret it. You will regret it because you're going to end up doing something that you should never have done in the first place. So I am willing to suffer just so that I can be comfortable in my mind. I could sleep right. I could be accountable. I can be a role model, because that's another thing too. People are looking at you, and you have to be a role model. And as women, that we can achieve so much, but we have to support one another in terms of building, empowering, and not just just pulling down. So in everything that you do, you make sure that you do it with kindness, compassion. I always put kindness and compassion in front. And I say, what would Jesus do? Sometimes when I get angry and I say, okay, well, this is unfair, because sometimes you could really get some unfair deals. What would Jesus do in this position? What will He do? Okay, so